Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
And a happy Thorsday to all of you who celebrate. Thor Nystrom in the house here from Matthew Berry's FantasyLife.com, Fantasy Life platform. Happy Thorsday, sir. Welcome back.
I feel like I'm living a fantasy life. The undefeated Minnesota Vikings hosting the Colossus Detroit Lions. What world are we living in?
Dude,
How do we
this
get here?
weekend, so, and you're a college football nut too. This is an amazing weekend. We got Georgia, Texas. There's like 2 or 3 other huge college football games. And then at noon alone on Sunday, we get Vikings, Lions, Packers, Texans. You got 49ers and Chiefs in the afternoon window. It's sit back for 2 days. Maybe peek your head outside for some fall colors and just watch football.
And it's Lions week, though. I've never said this. I keep saying this. I've never said this before in my entire life. I'm excited for a Vikings-Lions game. Vikings-Packers? Yeah, a lot of times. Vikings-Bears in past years? Sure. Lions week, Thorsky. We got it.
Very rare that we're this excited.
It's. I feel like the LeBron James meme. I can't believe this in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is good. This is a fun weekend. It's gonna be a fun weekend.
So before we dive in, Judd teased this a couple days ago. He has copious handwritten notes of research, Vikings trade speculation here. Look at those things we're going to get into. We've seen it. So Declan, you're not wearing it today. I'm wearing my version here today, but these hats that we've been rocking, this is a brand new one here from Legendary Golf Apparel. LGNDY.co for people wondering, hey, Dex, where'd you get that hat? Old Macadac, where'd you get that? They got a whole lineup of new purple-related things and also a couple of maroon and gold things too, University of Minnesota stuff. Veteran-owned, family-owned, based in the Twin Cities. They just started a couple years ago in 2022, and they donate a portion of all their proceeds to veteran organizations. LGNDY.co, promo code PURPLE at checkout for 10% off your order. They also do custom apparel for businesses and events. You can check all that out at lgndy.co. And again, promo code PURPLE at checkout for 10% off your order. And Dex, tell them Underdog here. We got NFL games firing up again on a Thursday night. What are we looking at on Underdog?
Yeah, you got plenty of great options on Underdog. You can check out every day. They have little different profit boosts for you. They have token boosts you can throw in there, 30%, 10%, sometimes even obviously the vulture protection, which helps you save one of your pick'ems in the event that one of those backup running backs snags your touchdown. That's helped me out a few times. You can go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download Underdog, use promo code SCORE, SKOR, for a 50% deposit match. Shout out to Underdog and keep sending me those pick'em slips.
All right. Judd, you guide us however you want here. We have no idea what's on this list, who's on this list. You tell us.
I became extremely excited 2 days ago because while the National Football League trade deadline is not till November 5th, the most important thing, there's nothing more important that will happen on that date than the trade deadline. Mark my words.
It is a day where the country will be divided in half about whether Dexter Lawrence should be traded or not.
Wisconsin will go green. Minnesota will go purple. That's what we're looking at. But we will
storm the steps of U.S. Bank Stadium if the Vikings don't trade for an impactful defensive tackle.
You better be careful at Lambeau Field. So a couple of days ago, though, because, again, congratulations. The National Football League's trade deadline was once the most boring of deadlines that existed. No trades were ever made. It was too early. It was basically just a date arbitrarily that passed, and maybe a trade got made, and it might be a nothing trade. Well, that's changed. It's been backed up. I believe this year it was backed up even more, a week beyond what it was last year. We've seen more and more trades. And then, gentlemen, a couple of days ago, we saw a couple of big trades. Devontae Adams being traded from the Raiders to the Jets. Amari Cooper being traded from Cleveland. And so I said, you know what? It's time to start to look at what the Minnesota Vikings could potentially add here. But I got to narrow the focus down, and I got to look at not just like names. Oh, who's out there? What, like wide receiver? Well, they don't need one. We all know that. So I have specifically targeted cornerbacks and defensive tackles.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to add offensively. I mean, they might add a piece, some small piece, right? But right now, gentlemen, on a reckless speculation Thursday, we are going big game hunting. Make no mistake, what we're about to do will have an impact on aggregators, on Vikings fans, and who knows, it might even be heard at TCO Performance Center in Eagan.
Wow. What a tease.
So I will start now. So here's what I'm targeting. For the most part, I'm targeting cornerbacks who could step in and play. And I'm not saying that their corners have been bad. I'm saying, can you make them better? Nearing or at the end of their contracts. So I'm not taking on a lot of term here. I don't think they want to. I think what they prefer to do is get maybe a little bit of term, but no like long-term contracts. Okay. So here's what we'll start with. Now, this guy did hurt his groin against the Bills, but I think he's going to be available potentially. And as far as I know, it's not a long-term thing. DJ Reed, cornerback from the Jets. He's 28. He's in his 7th year. He's in the last year of his contract with a cap hit, which is now up, it's not this amount now, but entering the season, $15.7 million. He was a 5th-round pick by the Niners in 2018, spent 2 years there, spent 2 years in Seattle, 3 with the Jets. If you watched the Vikings game in London, he was actually, I thought, outstanding in that game. 6 picks in his career, none this season. But DJ Reed is the first name. Again, a veteran who could come in, help you, and if you want to, you can keep him. But it's also, if you don't, he comes in and is a hired gun.
For the exercise here, and I'll throw it to Thor. The Vikings have a 1st-round pick in 2025. Kwesi kind of mocked the notion of going full Rams a couple years ago. But are the Vikings in a position, let's say you could, I know that these guys are contracts coming up guys on your list, but like for me to trade that 1st-round pick, I need to know that that player is going to be around for more than 2.5 months. So would you trade a 1st-round pick for DJ Reed, or could you get some of these players that Judd's going to go through for less than a 1st-round pick would be another question.
No, I wouldn't trade a 1st-round pick for him, but I like DJ Reed. Receivers don't like him a lot. He's a bit handsy, but it's that physical style. He's always sort of in your grill. It was frustrating some of the Vikings receivers in that game, and I think he'd be a good fit for Florida's system too. But I don't think you can trade a 1st-round pick for him, and I would need a stud to trade that 1st-round pick. Though it's just it's a gold asset. And obviously getting the prospect at the contract that you get him for 5 years, it would have to be an amazing player coming in that would really move the needle for me to consider trading that.
Okay. Another corner might tickle your fancy a little bit more, Thor, than DJ Reed does. Carolina is expected to dump. They have no reason really not to dump. I give you, and this would cost you, but it's interesting because it's a guy that would help you now and you could actually elect to keep. Former 8th overall pick in the 2021 draft. 25 years old now. Prime of his career. J.C. Horn. Cap hit is, so he is in the penultimate year of his rookie contract and his 5th-year option has been picked up. $6.7 million cap hit, which is, nothing and has been paid off to a large degree. 2025 5th-year option, $12.5 million for a corner, still a relative bargain. And then you could go from there after a trade. And if you want to keep him, certainly try to sign him.
It's an interesting one. You guys remember when his dad, Joe Horn, with the cell phone celebration by the goalpost? Yeah, and Horn, very talented player. Another guy that I think would be a good scheme fit, and certainly the youth there, the pedigree, whatnot. And Carolina, as you mentioned, is going to be incentivized to trade everything, sell everything that is not nailed down. So that you got to talk. I think every contender is going to be talking to Carolina just for spare parts and what are the prices on these guys.
So if you did this, then what would because Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore have both been really good. Would one of these guys convert to like a slot? Like J.C. Horn is an outside cornerback. You're not trading for him to be a slot cornerback. Mm-hmm. So are you just, they almost have, because they have the #1 defense in the NFL in so many different categories. I'm not trading my 1st-round pick if I'm trading my first round pick, I need that cornerback to be around for a while because those guys I just mentioned who are on the team right now are not under contract in 2025. So if I'm going full Rams and I can solve cornerback beyond 2024 and add to a team that can win a Super Bowl this year, I'm more interested. But J.C. Horn, he's got that 5th-year option. I'd need to come to an extension with him, which maybe that's part of the math here.
Yeah, I still wouldn't give up that. When protecting the first round pick thing, I need like probably a deal that wouldn't happen, right? Like I would need a all pro caliber player to start talking about the first round pick. I'm more risk averse with trading assets like that, though, maybe than others. Certainly than Les Snead and those fellas down there in Los Angeles. But I do think Horn makes a lot of sense. 6'1", 200 pounds, that pure boundary corner guy who's playing well certainly would start. And in addition, you help out your depth there. To your point about the how with the configuration of the corners going forward, you protect yourself against injuries, and then you would finally have depth there. But yeah, he would certainly be a fit, and a guy who is not even 24 years old yet. So a guy certainly that you keep around for a while.
And the interesting thing there, because he'd be back in 2025 for sure. The intriguing thing is Byron Murphy Jr. is going to be a free agent, and that would almost certainly allow him to walk. And I don't know if that's a huge loss. Like if you could upgrade there. So yes, the guys who are playing now are doing a nice job, but I mean, Gilmore's 34 on the last year of his contract. Shaq Griffin, the same type of thing. Like he's not going to be here long term. And Murphy, if you can upgrade from him, I think you do that. And your depth behind that is not great. So like it's at least intriguing to talk about too, potentially upgrading now and into 2025 with the ability to have an extension from there. So I do think this makes some sense. Let me give you another former first round pick. This would obviously not mean that you would trade yours for this guy. Same type of deal as J.C. Horn, probably not as good a player. Greg Newsome II from the Browns. So he was the 26th overall pick in 2021 also. His cap hit is $4.1 million for this year. His 5th-year option has also been picked up at $13.4 million, 47 games, 42 starts, 2 picks in 2023, and 14 passes broken up. This season, 3 starts and 6 games, no picks, 2 passes defense. Now, he has not been great. He's been targeted 30 times, and Next Gen has him allowing 18 catches for 294 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 104.0 passer rating. So we're not talking about J.C. Horn type of trade here. But I also think if Brian Flores says, oh, I can fix him, he intrigues. He at least should intrigue you. And I think he's going to be shopped. I mean, I think, again, Cleveland, the Cooper trade is the start of Cleveland, to use your term for the Panthers, starting to peel off some parts.
Yeah, this is more the range that I'd be looking at because I want the guys at a sticker price discount that fit the scheme well and that you could project that Flores and those coaches could raise their game back up. It's just like the stock market. You buy when the prices are lower. And to your point about Newsome, the past 3 years leading up to this, his grades were in the high 60s in PFF. This year dips down to 51.2 is what his current PFF grade is. Because of that, and because of the way that the Browns are playing, certainly could look to sell low on him. And I wonder, I mean, you have versatility there. Newsome, they have played him inside and outside. And certainly that would appeal to Flores, but I also wonder how much that has helped him moving him inside and outside. He was a really, really good cornerback at Northwestern, was devastating on that team, a whole bunch of ball production, and was really, really good in the zone coverage. You want to sort of keep him in that. He has a really good feel for that, reads the quarterback's eyes, can jump in front of the passing lanes. Don't want to leave him on islands quite as much, but of course with the, when you're doing the zero blitz, as you probably could in terms of that. But a solid zone corner and a guy that I think you would project to sort of Flores for him to turn it around. By
the way, too, because again, I think slot ability is going to be important here. So if you could trade less than a first round pick and get a guy back who could fit in the slot, he has played about 55 to 60% of his snaps in the slot the last 3 years for Cleveland. So I'm with Thor on this one. I mean, you'd be buying low on a former first round pick. You'd be preserving your first round pick in 2025. And you'd have a guy that could help you for like the next year and a half. Okay.
Yeah, and so the cost on a guy like that, maybe mid-round pick. I mean, we'll see. But cornerbacks,
you get a 5th round pick for him, probably, right?
They don't go the highest, in terms of the trades. They're not one of the positions where you get the ridiculous trade compensation back. If Newsome came in and then you have him for the year and a half, and you do turn him around, when he leaves via free agency, you would be able potentially to recoup back the pick that you got once you get the comp pick back for him leaving. Again, that's where, both with the coaching and then with the front office, I think both those ideologies would meld with a player like that, when you're thinking about the trade acquisitions.
All right, last cornerback on my list. It's a short one. It's not long. It's not as sexy, but it's a Flores guy. And again, I'm talking about one of the important things I think to keep in mind here is, you got Griffin, Gilmore, and Murphy, but you don't really have depth behind them. I mean, it seems to me that Caleb Evans has gotten to the point where he's not trusted. Like, he plays special teams, but I don't think he's really trusted.
Yeah.
So this would not cost you nearly as much. This team is a dumpster fire, but this guy could step in and actually help you. 31-year-old Jonathan Jones. So he has been with the Patriots, his only team, for 9 years. He was on the 2018 team that Flores was not the official DC for, but called plays. The Pats are 1-5. He has started all 6 games, 11 career picks, including 4 in 2022. Now, this would not cost you a ton. The Patriots, again, should be in sell mode. This would probably be a middling draft pick, if that. But it's a Flores guy, could step in. And I think it also comes down to this. Depth and how much do you trust your current guys? I mean, I think they trust Gilmore a lot. Beyond that, I'm not quite exactly sure. So Jonathan Jones is my last corner. Not nearly as sexy, but I also wouldn't dismiss it.
This is one where if it was the sticker price was close to 0, then I would consider that, for, like you said, for depth reasons. Earlier in his career, Jonathan Jones was better. Right now, with the age that you're getting to and the player type, the cliff is coming for him. 5'10", 185, and he was a speed merchant, and obviously any sort of depreciation of his athleticism, that's where that cliff is coming. This year, not playing as well. One thing I would think about with him, though, is earlier in his career when he was better, they played him as the nickel defender. He's been playing on the outside recently. I don't in recent years. I don't think that help is advantageous for his game. But yeah, a guy that Flores is familiar with and has some semblance of position versatility. To your point, Judd, a potential depth guy if the price is pretty low. I mean, for me,
Sure.
that would have to be like a 7th rounder. But if the Patriots, why wouldn't they trade him? So like that, certainly something you can kick the tires on.
Yeah, I like the premise. And to Thor's point, the last 3 years he's been playing mostly outside. He played mostly slot cornerback the first 4 or 5 years of his career. Would you move him back in his 30s to the slot? I'm not trying to say that there's no room to add a better player to this cornerback. I think the cornerback room is like Shaq Griffin. PFF doesn't love him this year. Byron Murphy, PFF has never loved him. But those guys also fit well in Flores' scheme too. And overall, that defense has been good as a collective. So getting a guy that's familiar with the system to be a cog in a really good system is appealing to me. But yeah, it's got to be, because right now they have a 1st and 2 5ths for the 2025 draft. Can you trade a they traded a 2026 conditional for Cam Akers, so you could keep going out to future drafts.
Yeah, and I think Thor, as we discussed this, we do have to incorporate that. I think if they're talking about draft picks, they're probably talking about some 2026 picks now. I don't think they're going to just strip the rest of their 3 draft picks for 2025 left. So I think we're definitely talking about a world in which the Vikings are going to, if they make a significant type of move, certainly have to go into the 2026 bin.
Or do the pick swap thing, right? And
yes,
for instance, with the Patriots, I mean, one thing you could consider is trading your own 5th for their 6th in that trade, because those picks might be 3 picks apart. right? I mean,
Yeah.
the Vikings are going to be picking at the very end of the round. Patriots are going to be picking at the top of their rounds, whatever. The other, and for Jonathan Jones, I think you would view him as Nick Punto of the secondary, right? A guy that, comes in off the bench and
Slides head first a lot.
Slides head first. The uniform's always dirty.
Every other year he's unplayably bad, but every other year he's like Gold Glove caliber and hits 280. Yeah.
And at least you can, if Evans is your top backup cornerback right now, Evans can't play in the slot. People could argue about whether he can play at the boundary either, but you certainly can't play him in the slot. Jonathan Jones, at least the versatility and understands Flores' system. The other point I wanted to make is what the PFF grading, and we don't need to get into a long thing about this, but remember 2 years ago with Ed Donatel when the defense stunk and everyone's grades were super duper high, and now that the defense is awesome, everyone's grades are super low. Someone at PFF need to get together and be like, zone defenses where we're giving guys credit for just staying in a 5-yard radius and not doing anything, for doing their responsibility. It's not as valuable as, the attacking defense, stuff like that. They're digging these guys on the grades.
Yeah.
They need to figure that thing out.
It needs to be weighed for, like, if I'm asking you to essentially play cover 2 high and sit back there and keep everything underneath, congratulations, you have an 88 PFF grade for doing a very, it's like in the Olympics, which Judd loves, I know. If I'm Simone Biles and I'm going to do like 19 different exotic flips, 4 of which are named after me because I'm the only one to ever do them, and you're going to do a somersault, my degree of difficulty at my job should matter, right?
Yeah.
This just gave me a great idea. Tomorrow, I'm going out to the Vikings. I'm going to talk to especially defensive backs about their grades. So Patrick Peterson on his All Things Covered podcast, which I used to consume when he played for the Vikings, would complain every week. And I thought it was just like sour grapes. He's like, those PFF grades, I mean, man, that wasn't my player, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, that's just a guy talking. But this year especially, I think, and we've talked about this on the show, Thor, I think they've been terrible. Like, I think the grades are just crap. They're garbage. And so I am going to talk to the players, the defensive backs, and see if they look at their grades and how those grades reflect compared to like what the team internally
dude, I want you to go up to Jonathan Grenard and say, hey, buddy, I know you are 3rd in the NFL in pressure so far this year, and you have, by the eye test, have wreaked havoc in every game you've played so far.
Yeah.
But PFF has you at a 66.7 out of 100 grade.
Hold on a second. So Grenard.
What's up with that?
Grenard's at a
Johnny boy.
Grenard's at a what, Phil? 60?
A 66.7 out of 100.
Okay.
And then
Some
I
of
want
these
you
grades are insane.
I know, they're terrible.
go up to here's another one, all right? Jihad Ward. So we do the trenches film breakdowns.
Big man. He's a big man. I don't want to offend him.
Dude, I'm telling you, and again, PFF has combed through every snap. I'm not going to pretend to have done that, but the amount of times that Jihad Ward has flashed not as a guy who's tallying a sack, but like oftentimes his job, and Alex Boone has been teaching us this on trenches for years, but especially this year, they send Jihad Ward out on must-pass situations. In fact, he has played 142 snaps, only 6 of them in run defense.
Yeah.
So they send him out there as he's an edge rusher, but they essentially send him out there as an interior pass rusher, not necessarily to get a sack himself, but to be the penetrator on a twist or a stunt. So you'll see oftentimes, and I know we're deep in the football weeds here, but
did you say twist and stunt?
Jihad Ward oftentimes will be pushing against where the quarterback is to take a guard's shoulder in one direction while Grenard comes around and hits the wide open hole on a twist. So are we looking at Jihad Ward and I don't know, maybe PFF has a comeback to this. Are we looking and saying, well, you know, he doesn't have any sacks and his pressure rate isn't that high? No, but he's out there clearing the way for Van Ginkel and Grenard to get wide open looks.
They're not supposed to look at the stat. Like they're supposed to
I don't
look
know how
at exactly
their sausage. I have no idea how
said.
their sausage is made.
That's exactly.
I'm just mad. I'm mad with
well, you
Thor
should
and
be.
Judd.
They're crap.
Well, it was also crap 2 years ago when they were trying to claim the Vikings had a really good defense when it was clearly terrible, right? Like the grades there were super inflated, and then the grades now they're super deflated, and it's merely because of the system. That again in the Donatel one, if you just kept your scheme responsibility, now it was a bad scheme, so it's like how do you umpires, one from the unspool
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Correct.
But they were. It was like every single player on the Vikings was a stud, according to the PFF defensive grades 2 years ago. And this year, it's the total opposite. The chaotic scheme and the attacking, they're not giving the credit. And to your point, some of the different responsibilities, you do what you're supposed to do, and you're somehow getting dinged. That Patrick. So Patrick, we'll just talk about one down the line.
And another thing,
Patrick Jones, he's had 136 pass rushing snaps this year, 5 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, 4 quarterback hurries. His pass rush grade's 49.3. That one should be more finite. How is that possible? That's a terrible pass rush grade.
okay, here's another one. All right, since we're griping, and it sucks because like there aren't that many publications. Like Sumer Sports is attempting to do it. There's not that many publicly available. Hey, how is the left guard performing? That the PFF kind of has a monopoly on that business. But
Yeah.
Shaq Griffin. So Shaq Griffin has been targeted 21 times, 9 completions, a 43% completion percentage against Shaq Griffin, and a 49.1 passer rating. He's allowed
Great.
only 44 yards after the catch all season. His coverage grade is 58.0 out of 100. What else is he supposed to do? If I'm Shaq Griffin, I'm saying,
Yeah.
how do I get to a 60?
Yeah.
Can I get to a 60? For God's sakes, opposing quarterback, Christian Ponder's career passer rating is 76, I think. And he's holding opposing quarterbacks to a 49.1 passer rating. And he's got a 58 coverage grade?
Okay, last thing. Last thing. I promise.
This is great.
This year's defense only has 4 guys that have a PFF grade above 70. 4, okay? Let's go. The 2022 defense, I'm going to list you the names of people that were above 70, okay? Okay. TJ Smith, Harrison Phillips, William Nkwanku, or however you say his last name, Delvin Tomlinson, Patrick Peterson, Kairos Tonga, Brian Asamoah, and now we're into the guys that are above an 80. Duke Shelley, Zadarius Smith, Theo Jackson, Josh Metellus, and then Daniil Hunter. If you looked at the two, it's like, okay, the 2022 defense is dominant, and this one stinks. PFF, get your stuff together. This is embarrassing.
Part of the problem, though, is, and this goes back, and O-line coaches have griped about this for years. Part of the issue is PFF doesn't know what they're watching, so they're grading on assumptions. And the line coaches are like, that guy, the left guard wasn't at fault. The left tackle was, but you don't understand that. To which my comeback is, well, you also won't tell us until you're mad about it. But anyway, yeah. It's
So, okay, sorry. One last thing, I promise. One last thing. When was the Jets game? Week 5?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, week 5. Declan's going to kill us for doing this. But Andrew Van Ginkel had an 85 grade out of 100. He had the highest grade. But he literally baited Aaron Rodgers. Well, that's a good grade. But he baited Aaron Rodgers into a game-altering pick 6. So I just need to know, like, if you have a game like that in which you also had 3 pressures, 2 hurries, a stop tackle, only allowed 1 reception, what's a 95 grade? What is a 90? Do you need like a second pick 6? Anyways, before we dive into Judd's meat and potatoes defensive tackles here.
Yeah, I got the defensive tackles coming up.
What's happening with Finch Home Solutions here, Judd? Tell the audience.
Oh, so much. And here's what I want to talk to you about right now. I want to talk to you about the perfect early holiday gift that actually is perfect for Christmas. The Gemstone exterior lighting by our friends at Finch Home Solutions. High quality, permanent architectural lighting that you can use for every holiday, special occasions, and get this, guys, game days with a selection of different colors. That's right. Let's say you got a big Vikings game, like let's say against the Lions on Sunday. Well, you turn these lights on, you turn them to purple right there. Look at that, a purple hue. Everybody knows that you are the biggest Vikings fan on the block. These are not temporary holiday lights. Gemstone by Finch, high quality exterior light system designed to match and design and be flexible and usable any time of the year. Look at that. No more getting up and putting the holiday lights up. They will be up all of the time. The family will love them. And you know what? If you're a Gopher fan or a Viking fan, you got maroon, you got purple. Finch Home Solutions, finchhomesolutions.com, or you can give them a call, 612-357-2604.
Appreciate those of you who continue to send your photos of the Pepsi 32-ounce Justin Jefferson souvenir cup. Refreshing here on a Reckless Speculation Thursday. So this cup is available inside local Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh locations right now. And when you get it, there's a QR on the cup, a QR code, I should say, on the cup, where you can enter to win Victor's Ride, a glorious Vikings-themed Polaris ATV. Jason from Egan was the winner last year. They brought it right to his house. Pepsi's also giving away a solo pizza stove via this QR code and Vikings autographed merchandise as well. So get your Justin Jefferson souvenir cup inside local Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh locations right now and continue to send me pictures on Twitter at Phil Mackey of your cups. Love to see those. All right. Football. All right, let's keep this Reckless Speculation Thursday. Who else is on your Judd's trade list here?
All right, I have, let's see here. Defensive tackle-wise, my list is not as deep. I have 3 of them that the Vikings could pursue before the trade deadline, November 5th, when everything could change in this country for your football team. All right, let's go with the first one. This is the guy we've talked about before, and this is a long shot. The contract is big. The price would be big. This man is big. He's 6'4", 340. But what the hell? Let's at least broach the topic of Dexter Lawrence of the Giants.
I mean, take all my first-round picks. Take every last one of my first-round picks.
The 17th overall pick in 2019, now in his 6th season, 28 career sacks, including 7 in 6 games on a bad team. He obviously played against the Vikings in week 1 and at one point basically relocated poor Ed Ingram into the first row at Giant Stadium. Had 7.5 sacks, a career high a year ago. Now, the issue is his contract as well. He signed a 4-year, $90 million extension in May of 23. His cap hits are 14.6 this year, 24.1 next year, 27.1 Thor in 26, and then at the age of 30, 29.1. Obviously, these contracts can be fudged a bit and changed, but Dexter Lawrence, at least his name is out there. My guess is he doesn't get moved, but what the hell?
The cap hits would be lower for the, first of all, those are very reasonable cap hits for one of the 3 best interior defensive players in the league. But those cap hits would be lower for the Vikings because part of the accounting for the Giants is the signing bonus that's already been paid out. Mm-hmm. His base salaries are $15 million, $18 million, and $18 million. Plus, there's some other bonuses you'd have to, be on the hook for. But yeah, Thor, I don't know. I know you're like really conservative when it comes to trading draft picks. Dexter Lawrence, to me, position, age, everything, fit. Take my 2025 first round pick. Take my 2026 first round pick.
Certainly, I'd put one of them on the table. This is a player where certainly my offer would include the 2025 round 1 pick, and there's not a lot of guys that could potentially be available that I do that for. And if it costs me, that's fine. But I would not trade multiple first round picks. I just, with the assets and what the Vikings are building, I wouldn't go off the deep end quite that much. But we could start the conversation with 1 first. And again, the price tag very well may be higher. And if that priced me out, that would be fine. But this is a guy that I put the 1 first round pick out there for, and then I gauge what else that they'd be looking for and see if we have a fit. But yeah, I mean, Lawrence himself, tremendous player. You mentioned that the age is there, that entire contract, super duper reasonable. So it fits all those different criteria. I just, and you guys know, this spring when everyone is like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, trade everything to get the quarterback that you need. It's like, no, that's really not how it works. Like, you have to be reasonable and it has to fit within a reasonable price point. But yeah, 1 first round pick, and then we'd see beyond that. That's where I go with that. I
mean, I go to the Giants. I say, hey guys,
just take them all. 5
let's be honest. You're terrible. Mm-hmm. You're terrible. You're going to be in the market for a new quarterback. You're moving on from Daniel Jones. You might even, I wouldn't fire Brian Daboll, but they might be thinking about a wholesale reset. Here's a couple first round picks. Dexter Lawrence doesn't really fit your timeline. You're not going to win in the next 2 years anyways. And then you're going to be getting to the end of his contract. Just why don't we do you a favor and spark your rebuild here, and we'll take the burden of Dexter Lawrence's contract off your books.
I
wouldn't do it.
I will say this. I don't think, your 2025 first round pick won't do it, because at this point in time, it's probably a very late first round pick. So they probably would want 2 first round picks, because it's not like it's a top 15. So
yeah,
if I'm the Giants, I probably need 2 first round picks at least.
I wouldn't trade 2 first round picks. People keep them. The Vikings, they're early, right? They're early on the timeline. The resetting of the books, that was for the future. The cap situation is set up so well. You have the key pillars in place there. Keeping the assets that you have for JJ McCarthy's prime, right? And all the young players that they have around there, you can't mortgage the future here. This thing is set up too well to just start throwing assets like Mardi Gras beads. I realize that this season is
Can
been
you lift
really,
your jersey?
I mean, yeah,
I'll lift this hooded sweatshirt right now if it gets me
building this
Dexter Lawrence. Come on.
We're building this thing for a decade, not just for the next 3 months. So you have to stay within a reasonable price point, in my opinion.
See, this is what's going on in Egan right now.
Okay.
Like, you got you got crazy,
sure.
and then I'm like, no. Phil's like, give them all the first. F
That's
them
Flores.
picks. Crazy's like,
Yeah, Flores like, give me that guy, whatever
F
it takes.
them picks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a fantasy trade that would never happen, because like you don't have a backup to Sam Darnold that you trust. But say, Giants, listen.
Oh, wow.
Sam Darnold loved himself in New York. He would sign an extension with you right now, and you have a 26, 27-year-old quarterback. It's going to be Sam Darnold and the 2025 first-round pick for Dexter Lawrence and like a 5th or something.
Now we've gone off the
you
deep
get a
end.
quarterback.
Now we've gone off the deep end. Sam Darnold.
Nick Mullins, step on
back
up.
to New York. Exactly right. Let's go to the 2019 first round again. A guy that was taken 2 picks after Dexter Lawrence. The price point would be decent here. I don't think it's the same though. The 1-4 Tennessee Titans could be shopping Jeffery Simmons, 27 years old, 6'4", 305 pounds. In his 6th year, 27 and a half sacks, a Pro Bowler in 21 and 22. He had a career high in 21, 8.5 sacks. In April of 23, he signed a $94 million 4-year extension. The cap hits being on this one, you guys. This year, $21.7 million. Next year, $22.8 million. 25.5 in 26, and then 28.3 in 27. Jeffery Simmons.
This is the splash that I think I'd be more interested in, because I think the price point will be far more reasonable. Simmons is a really, really good player. The play this year, it's been fine this year, but the situation around him is really bad. Simmons is a disruptive interior defensive tackle another guy that would fit the scheme well. He's big, he's rangy, he's athletic, can play both the run and the pass. And again, you don't have to mortgage, going forward years in the future, your draft pick. So this is the one I'd be very interested in.
Is it weird that he only has like 6 pressures in? I mean, his pass rushing has gone way down. He's not that old though, 27 years old.
Yeah, I think
there's
that's
like an injury thing going on there.
I also think things in Tennessee have really gone sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to get. Yeah, when the wheels come off, it's sort of tough to gauge that. We need to save Jeffery Simmons from Nashville.
You're probably right. Yeah, some of these guys, same with some of the cornerbacks you mentioned. Like if you're a cornerback on the Carolina Panthers right now, it's like, God, you wake up in the morning, it's Bill Murray and Groundhog Day, right?
What's the point?
Yeah. You're probably not getting your
stay
best.
in bed. Just stay home.
And then you have one more defensive tackle?
I have one more.
Okay.
I have one more. So I brought an end to our cornerback list with Jonathan Jones, who is a Flores guy. I'm going to bring this to an end with a guy who is a O'Connell guy. So again, this is not a real sexy one. It's depth.
Aaron Donald out of retirement?
Yeah, well,
that'd be fun.
I think McVay's still trying on that one, and I don't blame him one bit. 29-year-old defensive tackle, and he also can play the end in the 3-4, so there's versatility here. Sebastian Joseph Day, a 6th-round pick of the Rams in 2018. He was on the Super Bowl championship team with O'Connell. Was with the Rams from 2019 to 22, Chargers in 23, San Francisco. He bounced around in 23, and he is now with the Titans. So again, sort of a lost cause. 13 career sacks, 2 this season, expiring contract on a very cheap $4 million cap hit. This would be more of a depth piece, but we all know that KO likes his ex-Rams.
Sure.
this isn't going to excite you, but I mean, this team just got, Cam Akers doesn't really excite you, but they do go for depth at times. This would be more of a depth move on.
It's kind of a jag.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to your point, a guy with versatility that can play around the line. This would be our Nick Punto of the interior defensive line acquisition.
I love where you're going with the show.
Yeah. So if the price point is crazy low and you struck out on some of the higher guys, we can't make a splash in the starting lineup. Maybe we can improve the depth at a very low cost.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting. All right. All the research, all the handwritten notes.
Well done, Judd.
Copious amounts.
That was good.
Thank you very much.
Reckless speculation Thorsday.
Love trade.
So let's do this. ESPN.com. Our guy Jordan Reed put out. I think this is his first mock draft here.
I want a mock.
And since Thor is being very stingy about trading this 2025 first round pick here, I guess we'll keep it for this exercise.
Killjoy.
And yeah, that's fine. So yeah, Jordan Reed threw this out here. And the Vikings are picking 32nd because they have the best record in the NFL and the best point differential. And that's how it's determined. I'll just kind of fly through this and we'll get Thor's thoughts. Shedeur Sanders, number 1 overall to the Browns. That seems like an interesting situation.
I think I've been a Shedeur Sanders guy from the get. I do think that at the end of the day, he is absolutely going to be in consideration for the first pick. I don't think Coach Prime, Dion, I don't think he's going to let him go to Cleveland. He's already said that he doesn't want Shedeur to go to a cold weather city, and the organization there is a nightmare. And Dion's already indicated that they'll play the Mannings here, and if they don't like the organization, he might get involved. So I don't see team and prospect fit there, even though I think that Shedeur might deserve that at the end of the day. That's not.
I mean, part of the problem though, like the current draft order here on ESPN.com, how many of these organizations do you really trust? The bad teams are drafting first. So it's Browns, Patriots, post Belichick, Brady, and this kind of unknown. There's no weapons there. Panthers. That's probably the number 1 organization I don't want my young quarterback going to. And then you got teams like the Raiders. So here's the rest. Travis Hunter going number 2 to the Patriots. So back-to-back Colorado players. Interesting. I'm going to skip and try and find some other quarterbacks. The Raiders trading up to 4 for Cam Ward, quarterback Miami. Is he It's early in your process, I know, but is he top 5 material at this point, Cam Ward?
Certainly in play for it. Yeah, he declared for the draft last year and then he ends up changing his mind. But I had a 5th round grade on him then. He has improved so much in going to Miami. Like the yards per attempt, I think, are up 3 yards. The ADOT is up 2 yards. And yet, so he's being more aggressive. The big time throws, I think, have like doubled. And yet he has somehow cut his turnover worthy play rate. In so doing, very, very impressive. And his pressure to sack ratio last process, pressure to sack. I never heard so much people talking about pressure to sack ratio. Cam Ward has cut his in half this year from last year, despite spending more time in the pocket, despite throwing further downfield. He is absolutely in play for the top 5. And yeah, I would probably have him QB2 on my board right now.
Pressure to sack ratio.
Football, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Hand in hand. It's like a glove. It has to fit.
Carson Beck, quarterback Georgia, going to the Giants at 10. Let's see if there's any other quarterbacks here.
He's the overrated one. I've never been a Carson Beck guy, and I've said this on Twitter. I'll say it again. I do not believe that Carson Beck goes in the first round. Every year we see like the overhyped quarterback that everyone's like, oh, yada yada. He's the one this year. I think at the end of the day, he's a day 2 pick.
I think he's the last quarterback here in this exercise from Jordan Reed as we scroll down to number 32, where the Minnesota Vikings select out of Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon.
I want a mock.
What can you tell us about Derek Harmon here?
Height and weight.
He was a 4-star recruit coming out, went to Michigan State, and now he's transferred over to Oregon. and obviously having a very good season. Will he end up being an early declaree? That would be something that, because he has more eligibility left after this season. But certainly the play has jumped way up, which leads to some of this first round speculation and the idea that he could hop into the draft after this. Last year in the Big Ten, 78.4 PFF grade. With the caveat that we were ripping PFF grades mercilessly before, but just as sort of a gauge. This year he's jumped up.
It's the only place to find data, though. That's the problem.
That's it. This year he's jumped up 10 points to 88.2. Been very, very good. Obviously, the Ohio State game, there's going to be plenty more showcase games for Derek Harmon going forward. The stock is rising, and he's a guy, another guy who is a system fit. He's long, he's rangy, he's athletic, 6'5", 310 pounds. You'd have some versatility with him along that defensive front for Flores. I understand why the connection was made between team and player here.
6'5".
Big
That
guy.
is phenomenal.
Those levers, just get into those guards and centers.
Arms, long arms.
Drive them back to the quarterback.
And the guards are like, my arms are too small. My hands are too small. And he's just like, bang.
I love Judd's sound effects on the show. So we're going to get to Thor's college football junkie thing to watch for Vikings fans this weekend too, Judd. But we're stoked to have Stoked on board here at Purple Daily.
Absolutely. And Grill Masters, I am talking to you. So guys like Thor that love to get out and grill. Stoked Barbecue Pellets is a company based here and operated right in our great state. They are the premium pellet that cooks anything you throw on the grill or smoker to delicious perfection. You can find Stoked at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores. Perfect for pellet grills and pellet smokers, but also ideal for all grills. Find Stoked Barbecue Pellets, 50-count fire starter buckets, 4-count fire starter bags, and the barbecue caddy, which is going to make your life barbecuing as easy as possible. Again, at all 22 Fratelloni hardware and garden stores. Don't go with the big guys. Go with Stoked. Make sure you check them out at Fratelloni's.
Also, Nicolay Law, we appreciate their partnership here across the Score North network of podcasts. It is the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured, ordinary life can come to a stop, things can get complicated, and that's where Russell Nicolay and his team come in to help make sure you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. Nicolay Law, very proud to serve and live in the Twin Cities communities here around the metro area. They know what it's like around Twin Cities, and they're here to help you. Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. Okay, Thor. Football. Big weekend of college football. If you're a Vikings fan, what should we be watching?
Everyone's going to talk about Texas, Georgia, so I'll leave that one, and we'll go to Alabama, Tennessee. Alabama has a really, really good interior offensive line, and I do think that there's a shot that the Vikings dip into those waters in the draft. All three of Alabama's interior starting offensive linemen are going to get drafted, and in this game, huge test. Tennessee is a flawed team, but they are tremendous up front. Tennessee has the best run defense in the nation. So that the offensive line of Alabama going up against that nasty front seven of Tennessee. And we have some interior players there on James Pierce, the edge rusher for Tennessee, a guy who's a projected top 5 pick. He's worth the price of admission himself. The Vikings are not going to have access to him in the draft, but some of the guys that start around him are guys that the Vikings could potentially sniff around in the draft. So that the trench play in that game, especially when Alabama's on offense, something for Vikings fans to look at. Some of those guys are potential possibilities for the Vikings in April.
Love it, dude. What's like so big marquee games, obviously, but what's the most like nerdy, hey, I'm kind of embarrassed that I'm watching this college football game that you're going to keep an eye on this weekend?
Man, I was watching Western Kentucky, Sam Houston, and UTEP pull off the upset of Florida International last night. You're asking the wrong guy. I watch every single game. But if for regular people, probably the sicko watch there, the Schadenfreude one is Duke against Florida State. Florida State, the wheels have come off ever since they started complaining about being left out of the college football playoff. They've only won one game since then. One game since last December.
What happened, dude? They all bunch of transfers and stuff, or
they pick, it's like in Indiana Jones when he's like, you chose poorly, you chose wisely. They chose poorly over and over again in the Exactly. They chose poorly in the portal, and then they had weird strategy, like the offensive strategy. They tried to funnel the whole offense through DJ Uiagalelei, who stinks, and then they don't have any skill talent because they whiffed on
How do you
those
feel
guys.
about him, Thor?
He is absolutely awful, and the defense has regressed as well for Florida State. That's the more stunning thing in this game. So Manny Diaz, former defensive coordinator at Penn State, that's where he came from, was a head coach at Miami back in the day as well. His ethos, his entire career, has been sending waves of heat. You could think of him sort of as a Brian Flores type in college, and at Duke. They have two veteran cornerbacks, and so Diaz in year one has been able to just send the waves of heat. They have an awesome pass rush. Diaz defense always do. You don't think of Florida State at Duke as Duke being the bully. I think Duke's going to be the bully in this game.
Oh,
I love
that's
bully
Thor's
ball.
college football junkie stuff to watch this weekend, man.
The Lions and Vikings, Thor, that's two bullies. That's two bullies in a back alley.
Might
No
be the
rules.
two best teams in the NFL. Certainly to this point, they have been.
Just beat
Yeah,
each
because
other up.
the Chiefs are always going to be sitting there just kind of knowing how to, in some of those Patriots seasons where you're like, how are they doing this? But they just know how to win a game late and close. So you kind of put the Chiefs in their own category. But yeah, outside of that, whoever wins this game on Sunday is likely going to be talked about as NFC Super Bowl favorite up against the Chiefs on the other side.
And Disco Dan Campbell ain't going to be having Dan Skipper out there on the boundary running routes or his hooking ladders to Penei Sewell in this game. It's time to get serious. And I think the Vikings match up really well in this game, to be honest. The Hutchinson loss is obviously huge for the Lions. Our boy Marcus Davenport was already out for the year. They have another edge that was out for the year. They are way, way down there on depth. You think about Sam, the game where he played down against the Jets, that was in rain, and the really good cornerbacks. We talked about one earlier this episode. That when you can disrupt Sam's timing and then the cornerbacks are there, that's where his game goes down. Because the part that you don't like is when he's sitting back there in the pocket, now he has to ad-lib and he has to go across the progressions. When he follows the script as constituted and the offense is on time, and more to the point, the receivers beat the cornerback, his arm talent's awesome. Sam's is. Those are the games where you see him play way up. Detroit blew up their entire secondary this offseason because it was so terrible in recent years. It's still not there, right? You're playing a couple rookies. You brought in the trade acquisition. They still are certainly bottom 10 secondary. So that lines up well. And then how is Detroit going to mess up his timing? I just think the Vikings are going to have their way with him through the air. I realize that Aaron Jones might not play in this game. I mean, maybe famous last words, but in this game, I don't think it's quite as important because you just mercilessly attack the secondary of Detroit without them having any recourse. Like, who are they going to start on the other edge? Now, with all those guys gone, it's a bunch of bums. It's the reason why they came out right away after the Hutchinson went down, and they were just publicly stating, like, yeah, we're looking in the trade market for an edge rusher. They need help there really, really bad. And the pass rush, they can't disrupt Sam's timing. Their cornerbacks certainly will not be able to compete with the Vikings receivers. And then on the other side, obviously the most fascinating thing is the best offensive line in the league. The Lions have that. And their run game has been really good. They have the two dynamic backs. The Vikings have first or second best run defense in the NFL. Who wins that matchup? Or can the Vikings at least get them to a draw in that part of it and try to turn the Lions more one-handed on offense than some of these other opponents have had to make them? Then you take out some of the creativity out of Ben Johnson's offensive play calling as well. If you can make them a little more predictable that way. I like the Vikings a lot in this game. Like I said, I think that they match up well. I'm going to say Vikings by a touchdown.
Wow.
I do think the loss of Blake Cashman is going to hurt because he is everywhere. He's been so good. And the loss of pace hurt, but I think Cashman, is more important at this point. But the interesting thing for Detroit, at least on the first day of practice for this game, was Carlton Davis, the cornerback, has a quad and did not practice. So that to your point, opens up the potential for the passing game more. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. It's not going to decide the entire season, but I think it's going to give us a really good barometer of both teams, especially with Hutchinson out now because he's not coming back, despite what Disco Dan said. So this is basically what Detroit is going to have. I will say Lions have done a lot right, but when you sign Marcus Davenport as the other edge,
All these teams
What are
get
you
tantalized
doing?
by the measurables and
What are you doing?
We could have told him that. That's
Exactly.
Yeah, but to the point of Davis, that his status is super important in this game.
Yeah.
Enos Rakestraw, the other rookie, has only played 21 snaps this year. Davis has clearly been their best cornerback. Amick Robertson is just sort of sort of middle of the tier nickel guy, and then Terrion Arnold, the first round rookie, has been getting singed week after week. I don't know if I want to cite his PFF grade again after we shredded PFF, but 46.7 for Terrion Arnold is unsightly. He's going to have to take, well, if Carlton Davis is out and you're putting Terrion Arnold across from Justin Jefferson, good friggin' luck. Justin Jefferson has annihilated the Lions throughout his career, certainly, but the last 3 games, I think in particular, he's averaging dang near 200 yards a game. There is no ceiling you could put on his yardage in this game if he is across from Terrion Arnold or the other rookie they have to play. Again, I like this matchup for the Vikings a lot with Hutchinson down for the Lions. I think the Vikings match up well.
a lot of reasons for the Vikings to throw the ball about 40 times in this game.
Yes.
And this is where, which also is actually where I get a little nervous. Sam Darnold's last 6 quarters, if the game plan is, hey, get out there and throw the ball 40 times and put it on his shoulders, is he going to have 4 of those wonky blue screen of death plays that turn it over the other way? So many different factors in this one. Hey, Thor, great stuff. Happy Thorsday. Enjoy a great weekend of football. And we'll see you again next week, man.
Can't wait for Sunday. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
So exciting. Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.